In a previous video, we looked at how to name organic compounds. Today we're going to look at some specific organic compounds and some of the chemicals that they can form when they react together. So if we have this functional group, we should recognize that, OH, we should recognize that as the alcohol functional group. And then this functional group here, that's the carboxylic acid functional group. They can form very specific kinds of bonds. So I have here, for example, an alcohol and a carboxylic acid. These boxes just represent an unknown carbon chain. So this could be ethanol, methanol, butanol, propanol. This could be pentanoic acid, methanoic acid, anything like that. The important part is the functional group. So these can form a type of bond called an ester bond. And an ester bond is an example of a condensation reaction. That came up in polymers as well. A condensation reaction is what you get if you look at the two functional groups. We've got an O and an H and an H and an O. If we take away two of those H's and one of those O's, well, we get H2O, water. This is a condensation reaction. When you form an ester bond, you lose a molecule of water, and you form this bond here. So this particular example, I've taken methanol and ethanoic acid, and if we join them together, this bond again is called an ester bond. In order to do that, you need a catalyst. The catalyst for making esters, which is called esterification, the catalyst is concentrated sulfuric acid. This particular bond that I've made here, or this particular molecule that I've made here, because I used methanol and ethanoic acid, the name of this one would be methyl ethanoate. The first part of the name comes from the name of the alcohol. So because I used methanol, the first part of my ester name is methyl or methyl. The second part comes from the name of the acid. So because I used ethanoic acid, it's ethanoate. So that's how you name esters. You take the alcohol name, number of carbons, ioyl, acid part of the name, anoate. So methyl ethanoate. Esters are a very interesting class of chemical. They've got very interesting uses. They are sweet smelling. They have artificial flavors. They're used as artificial flavors. They're also naturally occurring in fruits and flowers and things like that. So perfumes and candies will have esters in for artificial scents and tastes. There's lots of different kinds of esters. Again, based on the name, depending on what the alcohol and the acid that you used are. So we looked here, we've got methyl ethanoate. You can also have ethyl ethanoate, propyl butanoate, octyl methanoate, any of those kind of things. Remember that esters are not a homologous series. They're formed from two different homologous series joined together. That's why their name has two parts. It tells you the two different carbon chains that were used to add them together. You always lose a molecule of water when you're forming them. If you're not sure which side was the carboxylic acid and which side was alcohol, my pro tip for that is to look for the carbon with the double bond and the oxygen on it. It will also be connected by a single bond to an oxygen. Draw an imaginary line there, and the side with the double bond on it, that came from the acid, because picture the functional group, the carboxylic acid functional group has a double bond in it. The other side without the carbon oxygen double bond, that was the alcohol group. So yeah, that is esters, and that is how they are formed and how they are named. Thanks for watching.